Welcome to Principally Speaking, your weekend news audit against the 15 principles that define our republic. Over the last 48 hours, the foundational pillars of federalism, the rule of law, and legislative supremacy have faced an unprecedented squeeze. I'm Josh Gillespie, and let's look at the issues. Issue 1, the legally undead slush fund. We start on the Senate floor. In case you missed it, in a dramatic Thursday evening into Friday morning overnight session, lawmakers passed a massive $70 billion immigration enforcement package. However, the real battle was a late-night proxy war over the administration's controversial $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. Bipartisan senators forced a roll call vote to permanently outlaw this payout mechanism. It failed by a single vote, 50-49. Republican senators Susan Collins, John Husted, and Dan Sullivan broke ranks because they know that leaving this mechanism legally alive violates Principle 6, the separation of powers. Under Principle 11, responsible stewardship, public funds are a sacred trust, not an opaque spoil system for executive settlement maneuvers. Congress must firmly lock the vault, not just trust in administration's promise. Issue 2, the 229-page at-will blueprint. Meanwhile, the executive branch dropped a massive 229-page appendix detailing its sweeping civil service overhaul. We now know the exact target: 8,000 top-tier career policy positions, primarily at the GS-15 level across defense, homeland security, and the treasury. They are now at-will employees, subject to immediate firing if they subvert presidential directives. This hits a wall under Principle 3, trust and rationality. While Principle 6 dictates that agencies must be responsive to elected leadership, stripping due process from independent regulatory experts means objective data can be easily replaced by political compliance. If a financial or military analyst can be fired for presenting facts a political boss doesn't want to hear, our system of objective checks and balances collapses. Issue 3, the election overhaul collides with federalism. But the most severe constitutional flashpoint is playing out right now over Executive Order 14399, the administration's sweeping election directive. Over the weekend, a Boston federal courtroom became a battleground. A U.S. district judge sharply questioned the legality of that order, which mandates a parallel federal voter verification list and commands the United States Postal Service to use serialized barcodes to track and potentially intercept individual state mail-in ballots. Look at Principle 5, limited government, and Principle 14, federalism. Under the Elections Clause of the Constitution, the authority to run elections belongs explicitly to the state legislatures, not federal administrative agencies. The order goes so far as to command the Department of Justice to prioritize the criminal prosecution of local election officials who issue ballots to anyone missing from this new federal database. The judge openly challenged this overreach, noting the executive branch has zero constitutional authority to fabricate a parallel voter list and impose it on sovereign states through threats of federal prosecution. On the legislative front, the Senate is pushing back. Senators Maria Cantwell and Alex Padilla led a prominent cohort in sending a formal demand letter to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, ordering his department to immediately cease all coordination on this election directive. Why? Because under Principle 6, executive agencies possess only the enumerated powers explicitly delegated to them by Congress. The Commerce Department has zero statutory jurisdiction over mail-in ballots or federal elections. The Senate's forceful demand for document preservation is a crucial example of lawmakers actively guarding their constitutional domain. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice is trying to dismiss the multi-state lawsuit, calling it premature because the federal databases aren't fully active yet. But using procedural technicalities to delay a ruling introduces a unique danger. State officials testified that the mere threat of federal prosecution is already causing mass confusion among local administrators. Under Principle 4, the rule of law, when the judiciary hesitates to halt clear executive aggrandizement, it leaves the constitutional protections of individual citizens completely exposed. Well, whether it's the Treasury's purse strings, the Defense Department's data, or your local ballot box, the lesson this weekend is identical. One size does not fit all, and centralized power must always answer to the law. Principle 7 reminds us that government closest to the people is the most accountable. Let's keep it that way. I'm Josh Gillespie. Stay rational and stay principled.